Happy New Year, everybody. Good to see you all. This month's project is buildings and urban scenes. So if you want to take part in that, got various photographs, or hopefully you might have found a few references for yourselves, which would be great if you have. But if not, I've got loads of photos there that you're welcome to use. So for the demos, I'm going to, over the course of the month, build from sort of the simpler today, and then next week going a bit more complicated. And I thought I'd cover sort of drawing techniques. So today I thought I'd do a little bit on perspective and pencil work. Next week I thought I would do a little bit on line and wash and maybe street scenes, a whole street scene. So using pens and wash, either ink or watercolour. And then I'll do a little bit on drawing from observation, tips, and then the last week a little bit on charcoal. But you're really welcome to use whatever mediums you want and tackle it however you want to. They're the ideas I had for mediums I can cover and ideas I can cover. It's a long time since I've really done a demo on perspective, and I know some people are a little bit new to the class, so I thought I'd just go over the very basics of perspective. So I thought I'd use this picture here, and so the sort of thing you kind of need to look for with perspective is to get an idea of. Basically what happens is with perspective, things that are closer to you are going to appear bigger than things further away. So that's the gist of it. So if I was standing here looking at this little building, this corner is a lot closer to me than that corner. So that appears a lot larger and a lot longer. So that's the gist of it. And obviously these windows are closer to me than these ones, and they appear bigger than those ones. So that's really how it works. What you can do with something like a regular structure like a building, you can see that we know that, say, like the roof and the windows and the ground level are all going to be horizontal. But how they appear is that these appear at an angle. So that's the kind of thing you've got to get into your head. Have that in the back of your mind when you're drawing buildings. That what you're training yourself to do is to see these angles, see what your eye is seeing rather than what you know. So what we know is things are horizontal, but what we see is a load of angles. Is that okay so far? And what I'm going to do is with this photo, just draw over the top of it. So I know that my eye level, and when I took this photo, I must have taken it a bit wonky because it's not quite. Because I know that my eye level would have been about where those window bars were when I took the photo. So that bit should appear as a horizontal line. So I'll make sure that is fairly horizontal. So that could be something like that. And I'll go over, I've put it in a bit of plastic so I can draw over it. So I'll just draw over that with a permanent marker. So that's what I know of as my eye level. Yeah. So anything on my eye level will appear as a horizontal line, both on this side of the building. Now I can't actually see the other side, but if I could see the other side of the garage here, that would carry on from there, because there were some windows in the garage there. So this level down here where the ground is, I just kind of carried that line on and just draw that through there. That comes to there, and then I can do the same with the roof or the windows, and hopefully they should all line up on the same point. That seems slightly out, but I'll just go with what I can see there. That's coming to here. The ridge of the roof, so it's doing something similar. I could also have a look at the tops of the window openings. Just line those up. And again, the window sills. And this would apply to everything, like the window bars and everything. I know it's a little bit of a small photo, but what you should find is that anything on this particular front face, they should all these lines, if I carried these lines on, they should all come to one sort of single vanishing point, what they call the vanishing point over here. Are you familiar with that idea? I think most of you will be, but I just thought it'd be a good one just to recap. So really, when you're drawing buildings, that's, just got to have that in the back of your mind, that, all these angles will be slightly different and they all need to fan out. So I think of it as like a fan. I don't know if that front lawn would line up as well, more or less. But if you imagine that as a fan, and each little bit is a slightly different angle. What I see a lot of is, okay, so yeah, I'll leave that at that. What you had on this side is, now we can't actually see this, so I'll just draw this in imagination. So the other side of the wall probably would come to about there, and then we'd have the other bit of the roof coming down like that. So you have the same sort of thing happening on this side, but you'd have like vanishing points. It'd still be on this same line, but the vanishing points would be sort of coming over here. So you have vanishing points this side and vanishing points that side. Yep. Simple stuff. Right, okay, so in practice, I'll just do a quick sketch. If I was going to do a drawing of that, let's find another bit of paper. Now, when I'm painting, drawing, I don't sort of go around constructing vanishing points and things like that. I just have that in the back of my mind. So that is really more like a diagram. What I would tend to do is probably just start maybe this edge here, because that's the furthest distance away. And then you could try and work out the whole of the front face of that if you wanted. I tend to find it easier to start maybe somewhere at the top, perhaps start there, and maybe get the first, have a look at how much space to here and how that compares. So I'll perhaps think, well, I'll start with that first window. That's about like that. That comes down to there. And then we've got the windowsill about there. And then the gap between the two windows, I could even measure it and just count those across, perhaps about 3.5 of those. 1, 2, 3, perhaps to about there. And then I could compare that width with this width. So it's nearly twice actually. So 1 and a bit, perhaps about there. So that gets me a position for get that. So that wants to be at that angle. This then wants to be a slightly shallower angle. Let's come down to about there. Sorry, that's over there. And then any of the window bars, they need to be something in between. And if it helps, just take those across like that. And then these other windows, the bottom story are going to line up with the top story, in this case, for this particular building. Look at how much space between, think about that. Again, you could just compare it. Less than the windows, depth there. Check the height of the windows, that's about the same. Let's come to there. A slightly different style of windows at the bottom to the top. Now, eye level, I think eye level, as I say, is about here where this window bar is. So that wants to be my horizontal. And then below that, they're going to be doing that, and above that, it's going to be not steep as that, but something near that, something in between. So that I gradually have different spacings. And then the bottom level's about there. I can put the door in there. The thing with the door is, because we're closer to this part of the building, that will be a wider gap than this gap. So just try and get that slightly further over that way. And that's like that. Sorry, that must be vertical anyway, like that. If you've got the whole of the other side of the building, to get the midpoint of this bit, so that's the other side, if you cut across like that, and then just take that vertically up, that should give you the right sort of spacing for that bit. Yeah, that's sort of the easiest way to do it. Otherwise, if you just measured halfway across here, it will come out there and it's just going to look a bit awkward. So that's a nice, easy way to just find that point. And then this, obviously just, that probably wants to be a tiny bit steeper actually. Let's come up a little bit higher. That comes down to there. And what I do here is I usually just get about the same angle and then just drop it back a little bit. That will be just slightly shallower that way. When it comes to the chimney, so I've got the chimney here, you'll find that this bit, because that's on the same face as this, I'll go back to that one. This one will go the other way. This will go to the one over here. So that's angled back that way. So that's one of the simplest buildings I can find to demonstrate that on. Okay with that so far? Yeah. The other thing I thought I'd look at is if you want to do pencil drawing, this is a book, I've got a few art books, and this one I quite like, and it's got some quite nice styles of pencil drawing here. I'll do it with my pastel pencil because they're a little bit, you'll see the marks better. But it basically just compares 3 different styles. So this style is like a very smooth, careful, blended way of colouring a drawing, which I think a lot of people, when they first start out drawing, that's how they kind of naturally will go. They'll try and make it look a bit like a photo, like the grains on a photo, and get everything very smooth. So that's one way of working. This method is just using a pencil as a series of lines. So you've got kind of hatching lines. They could be vertical, they could be at a bit of an angle, and then you've got cross-hatching lines, which are basically lines that are just going at a slight angle to that. So that's what really like a build-up of those kind of lines. And then this one at the bottom, he calls this a broad stroke, and I think that's quite a nice, interesting way. So I don't know if my needed something quite blunt for that. So something that will give a biggish flat mark. I'm not sure that my pencils are going to do that. You almost like need to wear the pencil down a little bit, but you basically just have quite a thick mark and just sort of kind of have a series of strokes like that. And you could hatch them and cross hatch them, but it's a way of just having, just quite a thicker mark. I thought it's quite interesting. Some of these drawings, I mean, it might be quite nice, if you fancy doing a little bit of pencil work and trying pencils out. We don't often look at pencils. But it's quite a nice way to experiment with the different styles of mark making, or ways you can make the different marks. In here, some of this is drawing shadows. There's a light side and a shadow side, but then he's also trying to draw textures, things like individual stones. So you might have some marks that, perhaps the marks go in that direction are showing the shadows, and then you might do a few little marks like that that are or like that, maybe going in a different direction that start to suggest textures. And it's quite, it's quite subtle, but it's quite interesting, and it's a way of creating a nice, lively, interesting drawing. So that might be, if you want to have a look at those. Brought a couple of books in there if you want to look at the books. Okie dokes. Yeah. So a few different exercises. And what you could do is, if you want to, just start with a bit of drawing. These could be like 10-minute exercises, 15-minute exercises. You don't have to leap straight into a whole routine. But you can do it.